So good afternoon, everybody. This is a, we did a project almost, we uh, started in Jan, and within 3-4 months we were able to learn Orchard, and this is the one, we wanted to share our experience, uh, what we learned, what was the issues we faced, what was the exciting things over there. So let's go ahead with that. Uh, Kind of quick agenda. Uh, so I am here from SapientNitro. A quick introduction about Sapient. We are a breed of agency. We are there in the, we have a global presence almost, in Europe as well as US as well as in Asia too. The way we are differentiating is like we want to just not be the technologist, rather we come from bringing the brand, the marketing experience as well as technology. So we try to bring everything together so that customer is not just getting the implementation piece, rather from a end-to-end experience. This is like quick statistic about Sapient, 7,000 plus people, 31 offices globally, and how we are standing in the market. And these are like some of the clients we are putting it over here, or just for you guys reference. So what do we do? Like we are in e-commerce market. We are in digital marketing, and we have been trying to get into the core of that, and we have got our own frameworks, different frameworks to for digital marketing offering. Some of those are like we work with Sitecore. So we got something called catalog technologies, where we choose handpicked some of those CMS tools which we can work on and deliver, and few of those are like Sitecore, 3DN, SharePoint, and Adobe CQ. So a quick overview of that. So we are the one of the largest alliance for 3DN, and there are almost 100 plus people working with Sapient who are 3DN trained. The similar alliance goes with Adobe, and we have a multiple engagement currently going on with CQ. Okay, so that was a quick introduction about Sapient. But now, why did we go ahead with Orchid when we were already having people working trained in Sitecore, 3DN, and CQ? The question came like why we choose Orchid? The answer is very simple. The client we engaged with was not having any experience with any CMS. They were very hesitant in going towards any CMS. They had problem. They had problem like everything over there were static, hard coded in the page, but they were not ready for any investment at the enterprise level. And after seeing, we saw the Orchid as a pretty simple open source, pretty powerful, extendable. You can just grab it, install it, and configure it, and it just get working over there. It uses most of the components which are best in the industry, like Log4net, AutoHack, and Hibernate. And the client wanted to work on MVC framework, ASP.MVC framework, and these two were pretty, gelling well to each other. So we decided to use Orchid. And what did we do? We basically, they had a pretty, non-marketing site, where the content were hard coded. There were, lot of code which were not used or not optimized. They were having two different sites for mobile as well as for the web, and we basically changed that using Orchid to pretty much a responsive site, where all the contents were served from Orchid now. The UI got changed, and we used a lot of the latest UI frameworks like Bootstrap and Backbone, as we were discussing since morning. The new site is much richer in marketing content, and the business gets the capability of updating the content and publishing it on fly, where before they used to depend on the IT team to do a build and deployment to push any of the content. Yes. Some of the features of the site means just wanted to call it out how busy the site is or how heavy the traffic is. So it's a quite high volume site in US. On the peak, there are close to 1 million backend operations per hour. 80% of the traffic is on one page, which is now being served in less than 4 seconds. Most of the calls are asynchronous calls. There are multiple integration in the backend, because this integrates with their POS system, their e-commerce system, and the loyalty engine. The most of the logics are there in the service layer or data access layer. It has got heavy database transaction, and we had to optimize most of the calls to make it optimize, get to the traffic which it is experiencing. But still, there is no CDN support, and it is able to stand. So when we started in January, we all were pretty new to Orchid, and we did not have any experience. We all started from scratch, and then what did we learn as in like 3-4 months? So we started from the basic. As we can see, there are a lot of a struggle, because not too many of tutorials or things are there. But wherever we found, whatever, either from the Orchid site itself, we picked it up and we started, learning it. We learned how the themes can be created, device detections, how you can have the models over there, which is a huge feature of Orchid. You extend your things and add it as a model. It's a great thing over there. Then one of the things which we learned was, you should not conflict with any transaction or scope in Orchid. Few of the practical thing also, we tried to make it work, how you are deploying the Orchid into a different environment. like QA, stays, production. We did some tweak over there to make it environment aware. And there was one difficulties basically because Orchid does not provide out of box, like, how a site will look like from a business user perspective when he is changing the content. There is no way he can preview it as an actual site and see that how my contents will look like. He can see the part of that, but not the entire site. So we basically created like 2 different sites, one for authoring, one for public facing, and so that business can feel how they can see the content exactly. And these were like 3 months or 4 months. We started in Jan. We went live April mid somewhere. There were multiple challenges in between. As I was saying just a few minutes back, there is no separation between the content delivery and content authoring, which most of the enterprise CMS tool provides. The access was required on app data folder, which the client was taking that as a security risk, that what is happening, but we were able to convince them. We faced some issue when we were executing the, like, we try to use the parallel library, and you try to do 2 tasks in parallel. There was issue. There was no workflow. And some of the other things, like, when you do a continuous build, Orchid is being used, it creates a lock on the DLLs, and we were still we are trying to find a solution for that. We got a lot of help from SipK. We reached out to him for multiple times to get some, wherever we used to stuck or needed some good quality help. He was always helpful, and thanks for that, SipK. The client wanted to write MS unit test cases, but we were not able to do that because we were not getting the hold on the content manager object inside the Visual Studio, though that is possible through using a mock object, but the client had a requirement to use Visual Studio for the unit testing. So these were different challenges we went through in the process. And from performance perspective, when we started, what we did is, like, we developed the application as a separate application and hooked that as a module to Orchid. It is a complete transactional application. There are a lot of WCF calls. The initial performance what we got was pretty bad. So we have started looking into different options, how to change the way or approach. And when we went to we exposed the content through the web API from as that is one of the options from morning we were talking. And the response we got, or the performance we got, was amazing. So if you guys can see over here, like the response went down from 21.7 second to 6.85 second. Like, we did a lot of optimization into the service code, database, even the UI. but at the end, still this was not acceptable, and then we thought of exposing the content as a service, and you can see there is a huge improvement over there. And this is the same representation over here of the number.
What changes did you make, or are you going to talk about those in a second?
So we did apart from the service level changes, like optimizing the methods and database calls. What we did is rather than putting our application as a module, we exposed the content what is there in Orchard and consumed it in a separate application. So and entire content got exposed through the web API, which is there in 1.6 now, web API support. So that's what we did. So we started using as just two separate applications. So Orchid was like a different installation, and the whole application of the MVC was separate. So and that made a lot of difference. And some of the things we were not having a lot of control. There were timer job which was running in the back, and that was causing a lot of issues. So when we did this, the content author or authoring part was completely separate, and the delivery was quite faster. Let's have a quick look on the architecture. So basically, what is represented over here is we separated these into two different instances. As I was talking now, the CMS database was same, but we had a preview over there where a content author can edit the content, and that is getting exposed through the REST service over there, and he can see the entire site, how it is going to be when he's pushing the content to the production. And so once he's happy, he see everything, he publishes it, and that's when that is getting pushed to the database as a published item, and then the users are seeing over there. So some of the things which we wanted to share, which again as we were learning and finding it out. So do not use the modules which is not required. Only just stick to what you really need, and disable rest of the modules. That makes lot of difference over there. Do not conflict with the transaction scope of the Orchid. It's means we tried using the task parallel library, and it used to behave very abnormal, and we were not able to really get a hold, or where is the issue. But at the end we figured it out, there is a conflict in the transaction scope, and the error is being thrown somewhere else. So just do not play with the transaction scope of Orchid. Again, a suggestion, use your build to create a precompiled version of the code. So and just disable the dynamic compilation, and this could be found over the net. Means we got this suggestion from the net and the CK too, that you just rename that file, which will stop the dynamic compilation. A part of that, use a proper SQL version. Maybe it could be Express, but for the production deployment, do not trust on SQL compact. Even Express version could work. Why? Because there are a lot of database operation happening, right? And when we saw, the compact version has still a limitation that from the transaction scope itself, it can be, I believe it can be just read only over there. But when you go for SQL Express, at least it is free version, and it gives you a lot of other benefit over there. Use a proper caching module. There are a lot of modules comes which is already available in the gallery. I think the DB caching is the best one. Just decide which one is the best for you, and definitely use one of the caching module. And the last one I would say, if you have a heavy transaction site, think of exposing the content as a service. And there are a lot of other benefits of it. Like what we are doing is, like, we can consume the content now, not just to the website, rather there is a mobile app too, and it can be pretty much the content. You can decide the content, you can decide your architecture of the content, and based on where it is being used, it can be served to any of the media, right? So it has another power where we can think of using Arcade into a traditional way of a CMS, where you have your shapes, you have the normal page development, everything inside the Arcade itself, or think of just having a completely separate application where you just have the contents in Arcade and you're exposing those contents to the other application and you're consuming it over there. Yeah. I think I'm pretty much done. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions? Make your hands nice and high so I can grab it.
Thank you. So if I understand well, you're not using the view rendering from Orchard, basically using it as a content management system and as an API function.
Yes. So
but view rendering is elsewhere.
Yes, we did that in the beginning, and I said, like, somewhere we were not able to get the performance parameter we were looking for, and then we had to change our way almost in between to a different direction altogether. We went to the extent where we were able to get the performance of like 80% what we wanted, but still that was not acceptable. So we had to change it completely and consume this as a service over there. Yeah.
Jay, what was your performance criteria?
It was less than 4 seconds per page.
Hi, just a question about the performance issues you had on WCF. Was it related to Orchard or the .NET implementation of the endpoints, or the links, or else?
There were, I would say, there were in all the areas. So there were performance issues with the WCF code itself, that layer. where we had to optimize that. There were some performance issues in our database calls over there, but we were able to come to a mark where we were able to get 80% to the mark to the defined criteria, and we reached to a point where we could not get the page run within 4 seconds or 5 seconds, and that's where we we started optimizing from the UI perspective too, a normal practice over to bundle the JavaScript, and from the UI perspective, even then we could not reach there, and then we thought of changing the entire way to expose this as a web API and consume it over there, consume the content over there. And the best part was it was matching to our application, because the application which we were building was more transactional. There were 30% of content based thing which business wanted to control, but rest of the things were coming out of database or different systems. So it worked well for us to go in this way.
Hi. You mentioned that you use Backbone.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reasoning behind choosing Backbone, and what was your experience like in integrating with Orchard? What was the sort of the good bits and the bad bits?
I think that was a recommendation from our. We have a separate creative and UI team over there, and they have been doing research on which and all frameworks should be used, and that was a recommendation from them to go ahead with that. So yeah, we just use that as per their recommendation.
Good experience with it?
Yeah, a lot. Means I do not have a statistic now of how the site is behaving. Means maybe next week we'll get some statistic, but the site is behaving a lot faster. The users are quite happy, and it is a huge change for them. So and they got as support to desktop, mobile, everything. One site, customer is happy, client is happy. So good.
You showed a diagram there which showed your, I guess, architecture of how that's put out. But I'm just wondering how much actual infrastructure was involved in handling that load. So you're saying sub 4 second, the page and your page graphs showed around 1 second. Are you using Azure for your load balancing? How much scale is involved in actually delivering that?
So it was not Azure. It was a physical servers at the client data center. They have 4 WAPs and 4 application server, and we got one instance which is just for the authoring, which is completely separate. So that was the physical environment was, but it was all at the data center, not on cloud.
And did you find that was part of actually reducing the page response time per person, or just increasing the number of users?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Did you find that there was a point where the page response time increased significantly for a node and you had to scale out in order to keep response time down then? Or is it just a matter of serving more users?
So, when we were doing our performance, it was not the actual environment, but a kind of replica of that, a downgraded version. So we simulated the users. We created those scenarios in Visual Studio, and try to mock it up to match to the production, right? It almost took 2 to 3 weeks to get where we wanted to get over there, with different times, different layer of fine tuning over there. Yeah.
Another question?
You said you didn't use a CDN. Is there any reason for that?
We did not use CDN. Means client does not you know, the thing is like, you know, they did not want to go to anything else or invest into the hardware or any external thing unless we see that it can be optimized through the code or through the hardware what we have. So we do not have the CDN. Yeah.
Any more questions? So my question to you is, you made a choice, a very specific one, based on you have existing relationships with established enterprise CMSs, and now you've had an experience with Orchard. My question to you is, would you do it again for other clients, and would you share that knowledge through Sapient Nitro, which is not a small company by any means, so that others within the organization might also take that road based off of your criteria?
Yes, definitely. So we did second project for a Canadian company, which is again on Arcade, and like why I am here is like we definitely want to push the power of Arcade to the wider customer, right? So and that shows the commitment. That's why I am here, right? And we have started pushing it to different clients. We now got almost 15 to 20 developers who are trained on Arcade. They are experienced now. We do not have a great experience. We have just learned in last 6 months, whatever. But that's a great learning experience, and we can definitely see the power it has in its simplicity and the kind of extensibility it brings. So definitely, Elan.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.